Hello everyone, thanks for joining the tour today, and we're going to be taking a look at the newly renovated bungalows, or otherwise now known as the cottages, which we've gone through about half of them so far. And we're looking at cottages number 4 and 8 at this time, and this is just a view of the balcony. We changed the entrance from being in the middle, and so if you are familiar with the property, there used to be an entrance for 2 rooms in one of these bungalow housing structures, and now each bungalow, each room has their own entrance to the side and a little bit more privacy as well, because we split the balconies. So you don't necessarily have to talk to the neighbor if you don't want to, but you can of course go around if you would like. And moving into the room itself, these are brand new beds and frames and new design with the throw pillows and the standard pillows in the back there. And then you can also see the kitchenette unit that we renovated, and we'll get to in a second. Also, we added a working desk with a charging station, so you have USB and also Type-C there as well, right below the television. And that's for anybody who wants to get some work done, especially those work from home people. And this is a wider view of the room, and I just want to make note of the AC, because these used to be fan cooled rooms, and now we got rid of the louver windows, and so now it's completely sealed up, if you will, with, as far as the windows go, brand new windows. And also want to bring attention to the ceilings. So the ceilings used to be flat, and now we brought them up to an apex to give a little bit more room and make it feel a little bit more spacious, but still maintain the coziness. And also bringing some more attention to the far right corner of the kitchenette that we have, and we'll get to that in a second, and also the newly renovated bathroom. So we basically gutted this entire place. Even the floor tiles are brand new as well. And this is another angle of the bed, and just want to bring some attention to the LED bed frame, as well as the embedded nightstands and lamps, and another view of the kitchenette, I should say. And as you can see, it has basically all the utensils and tools that you might need to cook a meal. Included is a mini fridge there down on the left, and a hot plate, coffee maker, ice bucket, all the knives and utensils that you may need to feed a small family. Not necessarily Thanksgiving dinner, but you can definitely chef it up in there, especially if you're staying for an extended period of time. This might be a perfect type of accommodation for you. And that essentially is the kitchen. And now moving on to the bathroom. And as I mentioned before, like floor to ceiling, new floor tiles, new ceiling tiles. Got the LED frame around the mirror just to give a little bit more lights. We changed out the square louver windows for the ship window, I guess you can call it. And we got the rainfall shower head and the glass frame shower door. Even the towel holders, those are all new. And again, trying to bring together everything in the room, the kitchenette, and to complete the cottage experience, if you will. So very happy and proud of how this was done, and really wanted to give a modern look and feel to this new room category, the cottage. And so also with this wider angle, want to bring attention to the closet. So you got some drawer space there, and you got some hanging space as well, and your safe, of course, and the ironing board is on the other side in between the closet and the window there. And yeah, another angle of the room, and also want to bring attention to that long standing mirror there, so full frame mirror. And that essentially is the bungalow, and this is kind of our way of paying homage to my dad and where he started from with this hotel, Travelers Beach.
I've been with the Pinnacle since inception, since we first opened our doors to the public in 2023. I'm a sales executive for the Pinnacle. So it was not an easy concept to grasp for here. I'm like, in Jamaica, in Montego Bay, how is that going to work? Because it's villas and it's hotel, it's residences and hotel, and then commercial area. That's huge. right? I've seen it elsewhere in bigger markets, in maybe better demographic locations. So in Jamaica, like, how will that work? How can we sell this? How are we going to sell this? You know, a lot of doubts when I just heard about it. But then I'm here, I'm doing it every day, I'm loving it. It's a great product, it's an easy sell. It's something I can do in my sleep. I can talk the Pinnacle in my sleep. I believe in the vision of our directors, and we're all working together as a team to make sure that in 2029, when we open our doors to everybody, all that we've dreamed of and they're working towards will be accomplished. Our directors they're born in China, they're Chinese, but they're Jamaicans. They've been here for an average of 20 years each. This is where they have their businesses, their families. This is where their children go to school. So this is where they want to give back as well. They want to make sure they're helping to build Montego Bay, and I mean Jamaica in general, by offering this kind of space where, as a business owner, you can come and own a part of this. You can have your offering here as well. And we're going to have a great mix. We're not restricting it. We're not limiting. We just want to make sure that anybody that's in this space also believes in our dream, has that vision, wants to have that elevated experience, and wants to offer that elevated service to a potential visitor or guest or client that comes in. We're sitting in our commercial area now, where if you're here on this property, or if you don't live here, you're not visiting, but then you want to come to the supermarket or the pharmacy or the cafe or the clothing store, you can come here. It's commercial, it will be open to the public. The public will have access. Then we have the 4 towers. We have the Swallowtail, which is the residential tower. So if you buy into the Swallowtail, then the expectation is that you're going to live here. And then who wouldn't want to live here, right? So you can actually live at a branded residence, 5-star hotel property, right? Second tower is our Canary Tower. And these units we're selling individually. It's the same 1:4 units as the Swallowtail Tower. Same layout, same design, same look and feel. But in this tower, the expectation is, or what we're saying to you is, if you buy here, you don't have to live here. We'll never allow Airbnb or short-term rentals, but you own your unit, it's titled in your name, and then you have the option to put it back into the residential return program with the hotel. That means if you don't live in Jamaica, and most of our buyers they're Jamaicans or members of the diaspora. We have some international people, but it's a good mix. So it means that if you're not ready to live here, if you don't live here right now, but you still want to have some kind of piece of this pie, you can buy into the Canary. When you're not in your unit, it's with the hotel. The hotel takes care of everything associated with that. It's the guests coming in and out, the marketing, the maintenance, and the average day-to-day of the unit. The third tower, the Hummingbird, we have not yet started to sell, but will basically be the same manner as the Canary. That will be the buying option for persons that want to buy. Our fourth tower, which is going to be the hotel, it's the Mondrian. We're not selling those units at all. The hotel has already taken that. And the hotel group is their core hospitality group. The first 2 towers are 28 stories, 141 units. The third tower, we've modified a little bit based on our conversations with our core. It's now going to be 25 stories with a little bit under 200 units. And then we're going to have the third tower, which will be 23 stories. Because what we have in mind is we want everybody to also get a view, right? And I'm sure we'll touch on the views in a little bit. So and we're speaking with the hotel, we have that in mind, and we're making sure that it works for us as well as for our buyers, with all the amenities that you can think of and associate with a 5-star property. So it's the parking garages. So the first parking garage will have 380 car spaces for parking with storage lockers. The second one is 275. And on top of those parking garages, now you have the pool decks and the green area, rec area, where you can come as a resident or as a visitor and just have fun, relax, read a book, go by the bar, take your children. Just a general relaxation area. We're going to have pickleball, tennis court, basketball courts. We'll have 5-star restaurants, cigar bar, wine bar, spa, gym, 24 hours. It never closes. Living starts on the 3rd floor, and then the layout changes as well. From 3 to 18, there are 7 units per floor. You get a combination of 5 2-beds, 1 1-bed, and a 3-bed. Then once you get above that, 19 to 24, you have 2 2-beds, 2 3-beds. They're bigger. And then above that, 25 and 26, 2 sets of 4-bedroom sub-penthouses. Then it goes 27, 28, 5,000 square feet each of a 5-bedroom penthouse. If you buy a penthouse, you automatically get a slip with your purchase. If you buy a sub-pent, you get a slip with your purchase. The others will be open for you to pay to use while you're here. We'll also have a water taxi. We're gonna have a ferry service, so we can pick people up at Freeport and take them here. We can take people from here to strategic locations in and around Montego Bay. So it cuts out all the highway traffic and the downtown traffic. If we don't choose to travel by road, you can actually go by sea much faster. I have different clients with different reactions. I have clients that I speak with all the time because they're very hands-on and they want to make sure and they want updates very often, right? And then I have clients that are just ready. I have a lot of clients that especially are in the US. They're Jamaicans, but in the US, and they've worked hard for years. They're ready to come back home and they're like, can you just finish already? This is beautiful. This will actually match the lifestyle that I have now. This, I'll have my walking trail, I'll have my gym. There's a supermarket right there. I want to come home. I am ready for this elevated style of living where I'm from. So they're experiencing it in another country. And they're excited that they can come home, they can retire here just the same and have that same level of experience. A lot of people weren't expecting it. No 2 units have the same price. That's food for thought, right? So we have pricing based on availability right now, because that's where the starting price is, based on what's available. And then also based on the size of the unit, the layout, and then the floor that you're on and the view that you get. So for example, we circulate a lot. We do a lot of media and social media posts with our model units. That's a $12.99 lagoon facing unit, right? Right to the right of that is a 3-bed unit that's 1,732 square feet. And then all around you have 4 more 2-beds, 1056, 1323, 1473, different sizes. You get a sea view, you get a sea and mountain view. There are different views and different facts to consider when you're in a unit. So I'm not trying to be roundabout, but that does impact the price, right? So it depends on what you want, but comfortably, we're averaging now, you're looking at close to 500,000 for a 1-bed, over 600,000 for a 2-bed, and then roughly $1 million for a 3-bed. And then before you respond and say, or before our viewers respond and say, that sounds kind of high, we did our market research. It's pretty close to a lot of other offerings locally. And then you still can compare offerings to other offerings. Because you're not just buying a building, you're not just buying a structure. You're buying into a branded residence, into elevated lifestyle, into luxury living. Why not? We're saying if this is the experience that you want, if what we're offering matches your lifestyle now or the one that you're working to have, come in and have a conversation with us. Let's discuss your options. We will be handover ready with the Swallowtail Tower in April of 2027, but construction will be done before that. For Canary, handover ready, and construction due date is 2028. We're ahead of that. The entire development is 2029. So all amenities, the homes along the front, along the sea line, the towers, done for 2029.
Hey everyone, Throp here. I hope you enjoyed that infomercial on the Pinnacle. I know really exciting stuff ahead. If you'd like some more information, please scan the QR code on your screen right now or click the link in the description below, and we'll have a representative from the Pinnacle reach out to you right away. Now back to the stream. Happy Sunday, everyone. Good to see you all. Good to have you all on this Sunday afternoon. A little bit later than expected, but that's how it goes sometimes. It's a little rainy here in the grill. It just stopped. Been getting weird weather. I've been saying this ever since Melissa. It's just, the weather hasn't settled. I don't know how else to describe it. It just hasn't settled. It hasn't been the normal Negro weather, especially with the water, with the sea. Usually in the grill is just like always lake-like, at least most of the time and most of the day and most of the year. But I mean, I think maybe we've gotten 3 to 5 days max in a row where it's been like that, and then some sort of system would pass through. So just an observation, just to me, I just keep saying things are still settling. Nature is still settling at this point, and we're getting rainy weather kind of regularly, and it even rained last night, which is kind of crazy. Not crazy in the sense like it normally doesn't rain at night. I always say it doesn't normally rain at night here, and then also early in the morning, and we experienced both yesterday. But Mother Nature, what are you gonna do? Anyway, happy Sunday to you all. Of course, I want to know what city, what state, what country you all are chiming in from. Would love to hear from you. Today we got a pretty cool stream. I know I've been alluding to it, dancing around it for the last couple of weeks, which is the budget debate. So we're going to be looking at the Prime Minister's presentation. And we're not going to watch the whole thing. We're going to probably start about halfway through. So we're of course very biased towards this side of the country. I'm sorry if we're not hitting everything. It's a 3-hour long presentation. I think it's about 3 hours. I actually haven't watched it. And so if you haven't seen it already, this is going to be our first time going through it together. And we'll just be reacting and listening and learning from the Prime Minister as he goes through his presentation. So this debate presentation was done on the 19th of March, I believe. So little bit ago, about 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago exactly. Today's 29th. And yeah, this is my first time going through it. So I've heard some really good things about it, and I'm excited to go through it with you all and experience it with you all. So we started late. I want to get into the show pretty quickly and get things rolling. Let's go through the comments here. What's up, Alfonso? Throp, what's up? So glad you get a chance to zoom in on the Prime Minister's budget debate. A ton of developments coming to Negril, St. Elizabeth, and the rest of Jamaica. That's pretty much where we're going to start watching it from, right where he starts going over that stuff. What's up, Justin? Watching through my tears. My sleeper Final Four pick is getting destroyed. Sorry to hear that, man. Sorry to hear that. Ronnie Blake, what's up, man? Nice to have met you. Thank you for staying at Travelers, and thank you for being a big supporter of this channel. Appreciate you, Donna Bryce. Happy Sunday, Throp and Throppers, chiming in from Spring in Ottawa, Canada. Hope you guys are getting some nice weather there now. Nicole, happy Sunday, Throppers from Mississippi. Looking forward to today's topic. Shauna, what's happening? Good to see you. Happy Sunday, beautiful Throppers. Jeff, what's going on? Happy Sunday, Throp, and everyone chiming in from Montreal. And shout outs to all the channel members and Patreons. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and what we do here. Ronnie Blake, all good, though rain or no rain. Trisha, what's going on? Happy Sunday, Throp and Throppers from West Palm Beach. And yeah, nice to finally met you as well, Ronnie. Cool. All right, let's hop right into it. We're going to go right into, let me see if I could share my screen. And I hope it's okay. We're probably going to do it at least 1.5x. And if it's an issue, let me know. I'd rather watch it at 2x. That might be too fast for some people. But let me know. And if not, if it is, then we'll slow it down. No problem. So like I said, we're starting at about halfway through. The whole thing is 3 hours. And this is on CBX Network. You can check it out if you want to watch the entire thing. I'm going to throw that in the comment section, the link. And if you want to watch the whole thing, you can go ahead and do that. I also put the link in the description as well. And you can watch the entire thing. So there might be some things taken out of context, especially because we are starting like literally in the middle of it. But I'm sure we'll be able to catch on, and then we'll be fully contextualized, if you will, as a presentation proceeds. All right, let's get going here. Hopefully you can hear. Okay, that's probably too fast. All right, let's go down to, hold on. Sorry. Let's go down to 1.5. Again, if it's too fast, let me know, and I'll slow it down to normal speed.
Critical to Jamaica's economic transformation, particularly those with an investment value of US $150 million or more that can commence implementation within a year and could be integrated into the NARA network of projects. The framework will focus on projects in sectors that will shape Jamaica's competitiveness, and we're looking at areas such as energy infrastructure, digital infrastructure and telecommunications, logistics, air and seaports, water, sewage and desalination, low-income housing and urban development, high-value tourism including wellness, medical and sports tourism, entertainment and the creative industries, STEM education and research, specialized healthcare, high-value agriculture and agro-processing, advanced manufacturing, and critical minerals including rare earth elements. Cabinet will retain the ability to designate additional sectors where strategic opportunities arise. Central to FAST Jamaica will be a strategic investment council, a high-level.
I say the volume is low. I can turn it up a little bit. Let me know if this is, if it's, I don't know if maybe my headphones are too low, excuse me.
Tasked with the initial screening and evaluation of major investment proposals.
Is that a little better? Let me know.
The elements of this already exist between JAMPRO, PBJ, and the Cabinet Office. The Council will assess the strategic merit, economic impact, and national interest considerations of each proposed project and will recommend to Cabinet the most appropriate development modality, whether public-private partnership, joint venture, concession arrangements, or otherwise, as well as whether the project should proceed through direct negotiation or a competitive process. Projects approved by Cabinet will be designated strategic investment projects and will benefit from accelerated approvals across government, coordinated regulatory engagement, and dedicated facilitation teams to ensure efficient execution. FAST Jamaica will also allow the government, where appropriate, to engage with unsolicited proposals from investors, recognizing that some of the most transformative projects originate from private sector proprietary knowledge. Madam Speaker, FAST Jamaica is not about weakening safeguards. It is about modernizing how government partners with strategic investors in a fast-moving global economy. Fiscal exposure will continue to be rigorously addressed by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. Cabinet will retain.
All right, is this too fast? Diane's saying it's too fast. I'm going to do it down to 1.25. Let me know.
Oversight of all final agreements, but what will change is the speed, coordination, and clarity with which Jamaica engages with major investment opportunities. Together, these reforms represent a fundamental shift in Jamaica's execution architecture. They answer the question that has haunted this nation for too long. Why does so much promise take so long to become a reality? We have accomplished a lot, but we could have accomplished so much more. So, Madam Speaker, NARA is established. We will have the legislation. I will table the legislation today. We have interviewed 5 shortlisted persons to become the Chief Executive Officer. We will make a determination shortly. We have selected someone to head the oversight body, and we will have conversations with members of civil society, the opposition, and other interest groups to fill out that body. So NARA is established. The purpose of NARA is to take all the projects that we have had in development, or some of them in 513, and all the new projects, and coordinate their implementation. It will work directly with the projects that the government is leading. But that is not going to be enough. We need to crowd in the private sector, and that is why we have FAST working in complement with NARA. And a typical way in which this will work, Madam Speaker, when I go to show you all the projects that NARA will likely do, you will see.
As far as I know, slapping, this is Shauna's question. Why are they slapping the table? What does that mean? As far as I know, that means that they're supporting what is being said.
And there are great opportunities for the private sector to come in. Every highway that we put in opens up land for housing, low-income housing, for tourism, for agriculture, for manufacturing. Madam Speaker, NARA's first and most consequential mandate will be to prepare a comprehensive project and economic plan to deliver within the next 4 years. And when we say deliver, we mean complete within the next 4 years. Today, I lay out a transformative vision for Jamaica by highlighting several national projects across the length and breadth of the country. Many of these projects are not new. They have appeared in development.
I'm going to go to regular speed for this. I did catch the beginning of this. So this is kind of getting into the meat of the matter, and I think what we all are excited to hear and learn about.
Development plan plans, consultancy report, policy discussions for years. In some cases, for decades. This vision.
So the Prime Minister is going to go through some of these. I'm just going to touch on a few on the west here, and we'll just come around down to Black River so you can see it. So we're gonna start. Let me see if we go. I hope you can see my mouse. North Coastal Highway Enhancement. That's up here. This is east of the airport of Montego Bay Airport, our Sanctions International Airport. The Montego Bay Convention Center upgrades. You have the Hip Strip refresh, Catherine Hall refresh, Freeport redevelopment, the Lucy bypass, which God knows we need. I mean, if you've ever come to Negril, you know exactly what that is like, potentially, especially when it rains or it's a delivery day. Coming down here to Negril, the Urban Center Market, the new airport, which is in Little London here. Savlamar, doesn't say anything there. And then moving southeast to Black River, you got an urban center, Black River town reconstruction, market was completely destroyed during the hurricane, seafront protection, and promenade. So I'm just gonna leave it at that point for now, just kind of sticking with the West and being very openly biased here.
Well, the problem, what was missing was the mechanism to convert them from aspirations into reality. The financing, the institutional architecture, and the enabling environment. We now have all of these. Some of these projects will be delivered through NARA, others will be executed through existing institutions and public-private partnerships operating alongside and in concert with NARA. What unites them all is a single coherent national vision. A Jamaica rebuilt stronger, planned smarter, connected more efficiently, and distributed more equitably. Where every region of this island is a functioning engine of growth, and where the resurgence we are claiming is visible, tangible, and felt in the daily lives of every Jamaican. I will highlight a few of these projects starting in the southwest. Black River. Madam Speaker, I want to start in Black River because Black River tells a story that is larger than one town. It is the story of the existential vulnerability of low-lying coastal communities to the intensifying force of climate change. Black River is one of Jamaica's oldest and most storied towns. Founded in the 18th century, it was among the first places on this island to receive electricity, piped water, and the motor car, a proud maritime hub, the commercial heart of St. Elizabeth, gateway for the logwood and rum and pimento trade that shaped our economic history. The Georgian wooden houses along the waterfront, the masonry, mercantile buildings, the civic structures by the sea, all spoke to a town of character, history, and dignity. But Black River grew as many Caribbean coastal towns grew, parallel to the shoreline. Its hospital, its courthouse, its market, its homes, all concentrated along the coast.
Let's speed it up a little bit.
Exposed. For generations, that vulnerability was managed, tolerated, absorbed, but Hurricane Melissa ended that. Storm surges of 8 to 14 feet tore along the Crane Road corridor. The historic waterfront was devastated, civic buildings destroyed, critical infrastructure severely compromised. Madam Speaker, we will not rebuild Black River as it was. We will rebuild it as it should be. And in so doing, create something this town has never possessed in its 300 years of history. A real planned, consolidated urban core. The Urban Development Corporation, working with our development partners, is advancing a climate resilient redevelopment plan that separates what belongs inland from what belongs on the coast. The heart of the plan is a new urban center to be developed inland, safely above storm surge and projected sea level rise. And you can see a representation of where that urban center is going to be and what it, well, that's the waterfront, but what it could look like. So this is where Black River's essential public functions, its hospital, port.
So, Alfonso, you're raising a good point here. So Alfonso says the exciting thing about these announcements is that they'll be managed by NARA, the new reconstruction authority body that'll implement these projects at a rapid pace, unlike we've ever seen in Jamaica. So I just want to read what that is. And it says the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, is a Jamaican statutory body established in late 2025 to lead, coordinate, and fast-track rebuilding efforts following the massive damage caused by Hurricane Melissa. NARA focuses on building climate-resilient infrastructure, relocating high-risk communities, and upgrading homes with a Build Back Better approach. Key aspects to NARA in Jamaica: the purpose: the authority was created to address the $8.8 billion in estimated physical damage from Hurricane Melissa, which significantly impacted Western Jamaica, including St. Elizabeth, St. James, and Westmoreland. Structure: NARA reports directly to the Office of the Prime Minister and possesses special powers to speed up procurement and planning for major projects. Reconstruction focus: key initiatives include implementing stronger building codes, improving land use planning, and fostering economic opportunities in affected regions. Funding and operations: operations are funded by the national budget and the National Natural Disaster Recovery Fund with support from international financial institutions. Management: it is designed to be high efficiency entity working with an advisory board, including private sector representatives, to ensure transparency. NARA is part of a broader government strategy to modernize Jamaica's infrastructure and strengthen its resilience against future climate disasters, as highlighted in this post, which I just read to you. Okay, so I just wanted to give some context there. Thank you for that. Alfonso, let's keep rolling here.
Municipal offices, police station, tax office, schools, market, and transport hub will be consolidated into a planned workable flood-safe precinct. For the first time, it will have a proper town square, a civic park. The buildings will be designed to withstand Category 5 wind loads, built on elevated platforms above projected sea level rise scenarios, with utility corridors, drainage infrastructure, and emergency redundancy. The historic waterfront will be protected by a layer of coastal defense systems, submerged offshore breakwaters to dissipate wave energy before it reaches shore, a concrete seawall integrated with a continuous public boardwalk, and engineered revetments along the most vulnerable stretches of coastline. The waterfront will become what it always had the potential to be: a vibrant public amenity and entertainment and tourism corridor, a place where boutique hotels and restaurants and cultural experiences make this stretch of Jamaica South Coast a genuine destination. So, the same questions that Melissa forced on Black River must now be confronted everywhere, and the answers must be guided by the same logic, applied consistently, deliberately, and at national scale. That logic can be distilled into 4 foundational principles that will guide how we plan, build, and invest going forward. The first principle is strategic spatial planning and risk-informed development. What happened in Black River happened because for decades, development decisions were made without regard to hazard mapping, flood risk, or climate projections. That must now change. Critical national infrastructure must progressively be relocated away from high-risk coastal zones. Hospitals, schools, utilities, highways, and logistic facilities must be positioned with full regard to storm surge, flooding, and sea level rise. Where we build is as important as what we build. The second principle is building redundancy in distributed systems across critical infrastructure. Black River Civic Core was concentrated in one exposed corridor. And when Melissa struck, a single surge compromised everything simultaneously. That is not resilience, that is fragility. Our transportation corridor, power systems, water supply, telecommunications, network, and logistics systems must be engineered with backup capacity and distributed architecture so that when one part of the system is struck, the rest keeps functioning. Resilience is incompatible with single points of failure. The third principle is the integration of regional development and resilient economic clusters. The Black River Plan does not end at the town's boundary. It connects to housing developments, agricultural corridors, tourism infrastructure, and the regional road network across the South Coast. That is intentional. Resilience cannot be built by project. It has to be built by a network. Connectivity. Roads, hospitals, schools, housing, energy systems, and government services must be planned together to create a self-sustaining regional ecosystem. The fourth principle is economic diversification and production resilience. A resilient nation is not only physically strong, it is economically adaptable. Black River's rebuilt waterfront will anchor not just tourism, but wellness, marine recreation, heritage experience, and culinary offerings rooted in St. Elizabeth's agricultural identity. That diversification
It cut out. I'm not sure what happened. Hold on one second.
A resilient nation is not only physically strong, it is economically adaptable. Black River's rebuilt waterfront will anchor not just tourism, but wellness, marine recreation, heritage experience, and culinary offerings rooted in St. Elizabeth's agricultural identity. That diversification away from dependence on a single sector, any single market, single source of economic activity is a model for Jamaica as a whole. We must broaden our productive base. Madam Speaker, the redevelopment of Black River will embody all four principles. It will be proof of concept that Jamaica has learned lessons and that we are determined to apply them, not just to the historic town of the South Coast, that is the Black River, but to every parish, every corridor, and every community of this island that faces the same challenge as we seek to build forward stronger. Now, Madam Speaker, I know the people of Black River are anxious. Your MP, I could only describe it as anxiety. He's also anxious. Particularly, persons who own property in proximity to the coast that sustained damage. There's a certain level of uncertainty. They're not sure whether or not they should rebuild, restart. Many of them have reached out to say, Prime Minister, I don't want to restart. In fact, there are several who have said, I was even contemplating coming out of business. Melissa's hastened the decision, but they want some indication so that they can figure out how to plan. And we hear on our side, the magnitude and scale of what we are planning to do can't be rushed. We can't make wrong decisions. So we have to think these things out carefully, put in place the systems and the structure. So today I would have laid out for you the NARA, which will manage it, the legal framework under which it is going to be managed. So we're well there. So I would say to the people of Black River, we have identified suitable lands to support a structured program of relocation and reconstruction for housing and business. For businesses, the town of Black River, for businesses in the town of Black River, the UDC has been asked to begin dialogue with property owners regarding acquisition of property and relocation where necessary. Madam Speaker, I don't want to say too much here because I know how, what leaves here and lands there might be two different things. So I prefer that the entity, I have tasked them to go and start the dialogue, that they go and speak to the people directly. After agreement is reached, then you can speak publicly. Early next month, various agencies of the government will begin the consultations and sensitization with specific communities in Black River and along that corridor regarding relocation of their communities. The truth is there are just some communities that proximity to the swamp, threat from the sea. When we look at all of the risk maps that the best option is to relocate. But we know how difficult this is. And so we will handle this in a very sensitive way. We will ensure in a very transparent way as well. We will ensure that nobody is at a loss and that livelihoods are enhanced as a result of it. It is not something that is going to happen overnight. We acknowledge this, but it is something that we must do. So we will start the conversations individually with them.
So what he's talking about is, and this has been like a big discussion in terms of how Black River will be rebuilt. And I think rightfully so, it's been concluded it's not going to be rebuilt the same, and there will be many structures, businesses, and residents that are not going to be coming back to where they are, or where they were, I should say, because it doesn't make any sense physically. It's just too big of a risk. And so, how do you allow them? Obviously, they need a place to stay. It's they own it, it's their rights, and they need a place to operate their business. They own it, it's their right. And so now it's like, how do we relocate them to a safer location in a way that is not a loss to them and their families and everybody who depends on their business, let's say. And so that is what he's talking about here. And they're just kind of working, at least that aspect, they're working out how that will be done in a fair and transparent way, as he was saying.
Madam Speaker, as you can see, there are several exciting transformational projects planned for the southwestern region, including Fonthill. Yes, with its world-class ecotourism potential, Fonthill is down for development. The airport in Little London, which was already announced, that will be brought on to the NARA project sheet, and the new urban center in the Grill, that as well will be brought on to the NARA sheet. And I wanted to just draw your attention to the road network. There, the lines in red are showing you new highways and corridors that will be built. One of them will be the extension of the east-west highway from the Williamsfield leg, bypassing Spur Tree. And then there's another corridor which will not run on the coast, but more inland, but will connect to where the new Black River Urban Center will be. So all of these roads will be under NARA, and they will be started and completed within the next 4 years. In fact, these roads should be completed within the next 3 years.
Sorry, lost you guys for a second. So you're saying it'll be completed in the next 4 years, which is wow. Okay, well, we'll see. That's amazing. Let's keep rolling.
What we learned from the hurricane is that in the immediate few days we did not have access. The roads were impassable. They were blocked, and one of the problems was just how the road was built. We had no challenges with the highways. No highway was blocked because these roads were built to different standards, different drainage provisions were made. Now, St. Elizabeth, which didn't have it before, will now have 2 modern highways traversing the parish.
Man, it seems like St. Elizabeth was already, and you've heard me say this before, if you've watched the stream before, that there was a point where even I was saying that the Grill is up next, right? And especially like with what has been happening on the North Coast, the Grill is next in line. And I've said this to people, particularly in Treasure Beach, but people in St. Elizabeth. It's almost as if St. Elizabeth's Treasure Beach has taken the place of Negril in being up next in a way, not to say that like we're in the back of the line or anything like that, but just in terms of the timeline, right? And this is just kind of another piece of evidence to show that. And I am not jealous or anything along that line. I think this is great. I think this is wonderful. And I think a lot of what's happening in Black River, Treasure Beach, St. Elizabeth is also going to be, it seems like it's going to be happening in tandem, which I didn't expect, with what's going to be happening in Westmoreland and in Negril, as what we're seeing right now in the presentation. And also, I didn't realize that this was the timeline as well, this 4-year timeline, which is absolutely incredible. So I think that is beautiful for that region. And it's something to be very, very excited about, not only for the people who live there now to have this to look forward to in a relatively short amount of time, but then also as people are saying in the comments here, people who are excited to move back to Jamaica. I mean, this is a real reason to do so.
Madam Speaker, I now turn to the northwest end of the island.
Nah, that's how I feel. I feel that too. Let's go.
No, but remember, just to put the member, what I'm presenting here are large-scale reconstruction projects. And so for Westmoreland, you would have heard what we're going to do with the grill and so forth. But for the other areas, it is mostly housing reconstruction. So I will address that. I will address that under a different modality. So, Madam Speaker, anyone who has driven from Montego Bay to the grill knows the bottlenecks at Hopewell and Lucy.
Oh my goodness,
this is
terrible.
Not just a quality of life frustration, it is an economic cost. Every hour of unnecessary journey time is a deterrent to tourism investment, a disincentive to the visitor's experience, and a brake on the development of Hanover's enormous untapped potential. Madam Speaker, Hanover has so much potential, but it is, almost like an hinterland in Jamaica. And in the same way that we have opened up St. Thomas, we will open up Hanover for development. The government will advance the Hopewell and Lucy bypass, running through a connection point on the Long Hill bypass, which is already under construction. St. James traversing westward with link road serving both Hopewell and Lucy before terminating on the westward side of Lucy. The alignment will run approximately 3 kilometers south of the existing coastal road. This will unlock the entire waterfront stretch between Montego Bay and the Grill as prime resort lands. In addition to the bypass, we intend to develop the Lucy Harbour into a premium boating destination.
So I'm going to pop back real quick just to the map here. And so I'm going to point out where are we? So here's Lucy, huge bottleneck. This is the existing road here. And then as you come around to if you're coming from the airport, you pass the Grand Palladium, you pass Ocean Point, and then you're coming around into the Lucy town. You have to go around this bay, this harbor, which the Prime Minister is going to get into right now. And this is where the bottleneck is. And it happens right now, it's every single day at rush hour in the morning and in the evening. And then also, God forbid, if it rains really hard, it gets flooded. That road gets flooded and it becomes impassable. So sometimes you could be waiting there for like hours and hours and hours. You can go up into the hills and go down and come around if you're forced to. Really, really bad road. Not really the best way to get around Lucy, but sometimes you're forced to. And it's really terrible. And then going back east, where would Hopewell, I think, would be like right around here. I might be messing that up. But it's also another huge bottleneck because of everybody knows it's just this one corner that there should be a street light or something like that. And if there's an event or something happening up the hill, or deliveries, or people being indisciplined with their driving, I mean, you could just be waiting there, like, and backed all the way up past Round Hill, and you're just waiting in line to get past Hopewell, and you'd think that like some big crazy event is happening. And a lot of this is like, it used to be both Lucy and Hopewell. It used to be like these occasional experiences that you would have, right? These occasional experiences where you'd be waiting in line or waiting to get around Lucy Town. Like, Lucy Town's always been bad. Like, don't get me that, from the existence, at least as far as I've been here. They recently opened it up to going into the town. Now it's a 2-way. It used to be a 1-way. I think that has also helped because it's gotten so terrible. And now I think because of population growth in the area, more cars being on the road, more hotel development on this side of the country as well. Tourist buses, people renting cars, people going to and from work. My goodness, all of it has contributed to this like really horrific traveling experience that we've been suffering from. I would say the better part of the last 6 years. It just got really bad in the last 3 years, like terrible, and it continues to exacerbate. So a lot of what the Prime Minister is talking about here is to alleviate these experiences, and of course, not only on top of the bottlenecks and the bumper to bumper traffic, there's also the terrible potholes that you have to deal with as well. So pretty atrocious experience that we've been having here. So I just wanted to point that out before we continue here.
Serving both Hopewell and Lucy before terminating on the westward side of Lucy.
Sorry, I lost you guys again.
Montego Bay and the Grill as prime resort lands.
So I think what he's saying here, this is the way I'm reading it, is that so this white line here is the coastal road that exists now, and then the red line will be the highway bypass. Hello? Sorry. There we go. Sorry, I'm checking on the Wi-Fi here. All right. So yeah, as I was saying, so I think what the Prime Minister is alluding to here are saying is that this piece right here, this strip between the existing road and the new highway will be for tourism development. I think. And what's interesting, Justin, you raised a good point here. So Justin's saying apparently Grand Palladium is expanding too. They will be adding another 950 rooms that won't help traffic at all. So yes, that is true. They are doing, I think it's like right here at this dot, you see that they're doing like this big construction. It's right next to the existing Grand Palladium. It seems like they bought this out and they're doing like a big construction project. That's, I'm sure, is the 950 rooms. And then there's also, hearing rumors here and there. I don't want to put out things that are not necessarily untrue, but I can tell you what I've seen with my own eyes. But I hear there is also something going in this area, and you're seeing there's two big, huge lots along as you're going to Montego Bay that they're dumping up, and you're seeing excavators and they're clearing the land, and it seems like something is happening over there quite large. And this is on the land side, so on the southern side of the road. And so it looks like something really big is happening over there. I don't know. I've heard a few things, but you can see for yourself that land is being cleared and leveled and dumped up, sort of thing. So just want to point that out. Thank you for that, Justin.
In addition to the bypass, we intend to develop the Lucy Harbour into a premium boating destination. Sheltered from the prevailing winds, with deep natural water and proximity to emerging resorts on that belt between Montego Bay and Negril, Lucy Harbour has every natural attribute required to become a premium boating destination.
And this harbor is so beautiful. I mean, it's not really kept up well, unfortunately, but even if in its natural raw state as is, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. You can see from the picture here, from this looks like a plane or drone picture. But even just driving through, it's maybe you can't appreciate it because of the traffic is so terrible, but it is really, really spectacular in its own right.
So on the Nara, this is something that we will do to create the economic incentive, but this is a perfect project for private sector. And so Nara will stimulate, facilitate, coordinate, but more than that, get it done quickly. The town of Lucy itself is similarly at risk for actually below sea level. So I wish to indicate here that consideration is being given to the eventual construction of a new town center for Lucy when the bypass that we have spoken about is complete. So we won't do it in this round. We can't take on too much, but let's do the bypass first, and then we do the work.
Hold on, I missed that. Let's go back.
The town of Lucy itself is similarly at risk for storm and wave action. It's, in other words, it faces the same threats as Black River.
Sorry about that. Keep going out.
Indicate here that consideration is being given to the eventual construction of a new town center for Lucy when the bypass that we have spoken about is complete. So we won't do it in this round. We can't take on too much.
Okay, got it. So that's what I missed. I didn't know what he's talking about. So he's saying that the bypass is the priority and building up the new town center will come after that in Lucy.
Let's do the bypass first, and then we do the work. I want to talk about St. James, Montego Bay in particular. Recently, I was written to by one of the tourism interests in Montego Bay, expressing real concern about the state of the town, how it looks, the collection of garbage, the public facilities that are there, and there is a real concern raised, and I want the tourism community to know that the government hears your cry. We're not just sensitive to it, we're working to have it addressed. One of the big issues, which I know is a challenge, is the collection of municipal
All right, there we go. Sorry, everyone. Bad Wi-Fi today. All right, let's keep going here.
At the expense of the diversion of the limited stock of equipment that we have from the municipal operations into the debris management operations. I think very shortly we will have to bring the debris management to either a pause or an end so that we can refocus on the municipal issues. So I want to indicate to the people of St. James, yes, we hear you, and we're going to address this problem in short order. Madam Speaker, Montego Bay is our tourism capital, and it is time we undertook new investments to revitalize and secure its position as the leading destination in the Caribbean. Hurricane Melissa inflicted severe damage across Montego Bay, particularly in the coastal communities of Catherine Hall and West Green and Freeport. The destruction was painful, but it has given us something valuable, a once in a generation opportunity to reimagine this corridor in a way that is bolder and more resilient. But we must first protect the city, which is a key pillar of Jamaica's economy. Montego Bay has long been vulnerable to flooding. Its rivers, when overwhelmed, have repeatedly brought misery to communities. The government will therefore undertake significant investments in river training to contain, manage, and direct floodwaters away from communities and commercial areas and critical infrastructure. The people of West Green and Catherine Hall will be very happy to hear this. And downtown Montego Bay, yes. Madam Speaker, the Montego Bay Freeport and its surrounding areas represent one of the most strategically valuable and scenically spectacular stretches of real estate in the entire Caribbean. It is home to our mixed-use cargo and cruise ship port and the Montego Bay Free Zone, and it is flanked by major hotels, premium residential developments, and a forthcoming 28-story mixed-use hotel and residential complex, a powerful signal of the confidence that investors already place in this corridor. At the same time, the soon-to-be completed Montego Bay Perimeter Road is fundamentally reshaping the economic geography of the wider region, opening new corridors and unlocking additional lands for investment that were previously out of reach. Our plan is to gradually relocate the BPO and light industrial activities in the free zone to new purpose-built facilities along the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, catalyzing vibrant economic activity along the emerging corridor while providing modern, world-class, purpose-designed spaces. The thinking and the beauty of this strategy is that this will free up prime waterfront lands on the Freeport Peninsula for their highest and best use. We envision a landmark mixed-use development, commercial, retail, and premium residential seamlessly woven into the urban fabric of the city, comparable in ambition and elegance to the celebrated Brickell waterfront in Miami. This vision will be a performing arts theater. It always is a puzzle to me. Every hotel has to have their own entertainment package. You know, we could invest in developing real premium entertainment if we had a proper performing arts center. You know, we could invite Broadway to come and have plays here that the tourists would, instead of having to be stuck in the all-inclusives, they have somewhere to go. Locals can have somewhere to go. So the thinking, and you know, one thing with this government, we apply strategic thinking to everything. So, you know, when the Freeport was developed along the coast, very important that it was actually coastal, so that because it's close to the port as well, because the idea was like manufacturing, you get on a ship and you go. But things have kind of changed a little bit because most of what the work that the Free Zone is doing has nothing to do with shipping. We ship it via email. In other words, the Freeport is now doing digital services, BPOs. They don't need to occupy valuable premium port lands. So where they need to be is actually beside efficient public transportation, so people can get to work easily. Right now, it's chaos.
Makes sense.
The Freeport. So just this move is going to increase the efficiency of the town, but increase the value and productivity. And redirect traffic from outside of the town to allow Montego Bay to be able to breathe. Madam Speaker,
So I saw this for the first time. Wait, yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, this is pretty incredible. This is really, really cool.
the vision does not stop
Yeah.
at Freeport. What we are proposing is the transformation of the entire coastal corridor from the Freeport sweeping eastward to Harmony Park Beach, to Harmony Beach Park, along the waterfront, and all the way to the iconic hip strip. This breathtaking stretch of Caribbean coastline will be unified into one seamless, world-class leisure, entertainment, and shopping corridor. The top road. So what's the proper name on the top road? The Queen's Drive. The president of Montego Bay. Top road, as we all know it. Very few people know it as Queen's Drive. The top road will be dualized. That's a very important point. The top road will be dualized to handle traffic efficiently, while the bottom road will be progressively pedestrianized, as well as the hip strip itself.
So you guys understand what's happening? So now maybe I should bring up the map. Oh, perfect. Look at that. Okay, so let's go over to Montego Bay here. Okay, so now when this is St. Louis International Airport, Montego Bay Airport. So now when you come out the airport and you're driving to Negril, of course, as you come out the airport, you can either take the bottom road here, and this takes you to the hip strip or Jimmy Cliff Boulevard, or you can take the top road, which I think most people take. It seems usually faster, better, because sometimes if you're going down the hip strip, there could be cruise ship traffic, tourism traffic, people going to Starbucks, going to Doctor's Cave Beach, et cetera, could slow you down. And so a lot of people take the top road here. And that's kind of your primary ways of getting to Negril. And no matter what, when you're coming through top road or bottom road, you meet here, which is pretty much where Harmony Beach Park is. And you have to go through, I would say this is downtown Montego Bay here, but you're on the outskirts of it, but you do get an incredible amount of the residual traffic of people going about their business, going about their day from the downtown area. And you could be sitting in traffic from top to bottom all the way here, getting to Fairview, and then over here, this is Freeport. If you're looking west or on your screen to the left, this is Freeport here. This is where a lot of the BPOs are in this area that the Prime Minister is alluding to. A lot of prime land, a lot of prime real estate, and yeah, he's right. It's not really conducive to public transportation for the hundreds and maybe even thousands of workers that work at these BPOs and call centers. And so it does make sense for them to potentially relocate. They're not really utilizing the primary lands that they are. And it makes a lot of sense. So anyway, so even getting through Fairview, you got an incredible amount of traffic to go through. This is just maybe 2 miles, mile and a half, this strip. And sometimes you could just be sitting there. And then finally you make a right on Bogue Road. And usually you're pretty good after that until you hit Hopewell. That's the first bottleneck that you hit. So now I'm not sure. Like I said, I didn't watch this, so maybe the Prime Minister will go through this. But with the perimeter road, bypassed highway, whatever you want to call it, I don't know the official name. What's going to be happening is you're going to be making a left out of the airport, and you will no longer need to decide whether you go to top road or bottom road. And especially if you have no business in the downtown area of Montego Bay or Freeport area, and you just want to go to Negril, you're going to make a left out of the airport. And you're going to hop on this highway and you're going to skip all of this. And you're going to end up here, I believe. I'm still not fully certain, but this to me makes the most sense as to where it's going to be, because this is where the highway is ending seemingly. And then you would make a left here on Bogue Road and continue your journey to Negril. And then there is There is an overpass here. This looks like, I feel like they're further along than this. So they're building an overpass here, and then this is also going to connect the Freeport area, and they're going to be connecting these roads. You can even see, I was there the other day, you can see that they're doing work here on this, I guess it's going to be a road now, and you'll be able to hop on the highway there. And so it's going to free up the hip strip, bottom road, top road. All right, let's keep rolling here.
It will be a walkable waterfront of rare beauty and vitality, connecting the cruise ship port to all the way to Harmony Beach Park and Dr. Spear Beach, and every restaurant, bar, and shop along the hip street. It's always a disappointment, you know. We have a all-inclusive culture. We call it the all-inclusive. But really, if you think about it, it's really all-exclusive. Right? If it were truly all-inclusive, you would come to your hotel and you would be able to walk outside, you know, go on the strip, go to the market, sit down in a restaurant. You'll be able to move around the city. And that's what when we talk about transforming tourism, that's what we really have to do. Right? We have to do that. So we're going to use the opportunity of Hurricane Melissa to just deal with these matters once and for all. Nara will deal with them once and for all.
Here for it.
Madam Speaker, we're also examining ways to enhance the elegant corridor between Sangster International Airport and the Montego Bay Convention Center. You know, it's called the elegant corridor. I must tell you, it still has some elegance to it, but it needs a refresh. Yes, it needs a refresh. So we're going to be examining ways to do that. One of the big challenges with the elegant corridor, the Minister of Tourism will tell you, and I'm saying this for the hearing of those persons who operate hotels along the corridor, is the noise pollution. You see, Madam Speaker, when the North Coast Highway was being developed, that section was technically supposed to be a boulevard. Right? So, you know, in designing cities and towns, you know, streets lead onto boulevards. So streets empty traffic onto boulevards, and boulevards carry them onto highways. But what has happened is that this road is neither a boulevard or street, or it is playing all these roles. And it is carrying heavy traffic like a highway, but people have to exit to go into the hotels or go into the business places. Worst of all, and what really sometimes I'm very distressed when I see it, the hop, skip, and jump of workers trying to move across the road to get to the hotel.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It doesn't make sense. So that entire elegant corridor has to be redefined and re-engineered to deal with soundproofing by building natural sound barriers, grade separation and tunneling so that you can move across, building, because there is enough space in several areas to also build a kind of local road that connects all the hotels. Then you go under or over and you're onto golf course, or to really make the tourism product more seamless and of greater value and greater attractiveness. Madam Speaker, like Black River, Falmouth is a case study in the existential vulnerability of low-lying coastal communities to the intensifying impacts of climate change. The flooding of the town, the failure of its drainage infrastructure, and the severing of its road connections during Hurricane Melissa were not random misfortunes. They were the predictable consequences of a town whose layout, institutions, and infrastructure were simply never designed for the climate realities we face today. We cannot simply rebuild what was there. We must fundamentally reorganize Falmouth. I see, Madam Speaker, a big smile on the Member of Parliament for North Trelawney, who, unlike most MPs, she actually lives in her constituency and lives in the town of Falmouth. All right, Member from Southwest St. Catherine. The drag line, what's in their constituency? Good. Good, Rose, good. The drag line, which is the critical drainage canal running east to west through the town, provides a natural organizing boundary. It is both the town's most important piece of infrastructure, and as Melissa demonstrated, it is the most neglected. Major infrastructure works will be undertaken to clean it and progressively modernize it into a functional water feature that both protects the town and enhances the remarkable Georgian environment. Again, this will be a project on the now. But more than that, the drag line will serve as a boundary between two distinct and complementary zones of reimagined Falmouth. North of the drag line, closer to the sea, the focus will be on what the waterfront does best: tourism, heritage, recreation, and coastal protection. The magnificent Georgian Historic Core, the Albert George Market, the Falmouth Courthouse, the Tharp House Complex, the churches, and the Baptist Manse will all be preserved as far as possible. The cruise port and the waterfront will be enhanced and activated as world-class visitor experience. South of the drag line, we will build a resilient civic backbone that...
I don't know Falmouth that much. Are you guys okay skipping these parts? Let me know.
Falmouth has never had. The hospital will be...
Not that I don't care about Falmouth, but we're focused a little bit more here on the west.
Located inland, a very important point, members. Madam Member of Parliament, we will be relocating the Falmouth Hospital inland. We have identified somewhere. We'll make that known as soon as we finalize the land. And this will be away from the flood zone with direct access to the North Coast Highway so that it remains fully operational precisely when it is needed most. Madam Speaker, during the pandemic, I flew to the hospital, and again, I want to commend all the hospital workers, but I wanted to commend the Falmouth workers in particular as I visited them. Very difficult circumstances, but like everywhere else, they were there doing their service. A new urban center will be built to modern standards of climate resilience and will consolidate critical public services and give people of Trelawney the standard of public facilities they deserve. Further south, and I want Minister Grange to pay attention to this one. Further south, anchored by the Trelawney Multipurpose Stadium at Florence Hall, we will finally deliver on the promise this facility has always held. We will be developing the area into a world-class sports center for sports training, major events, and sports tourism. While building around it vibrant housing and a commercial nucleus that brings permanent economic life to this corridor. Madam Speaker, we have had several proposals come to use the Trelawney Stadium. But government was never fully in a position because...
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit.
Has become one of the most rapidly developing commercial zones in Jamaica. New businesses, new housing developments, new hospitality enterprises. Madam Speaker, the North Coast and the Draxall and Miami Bay stretch in particular has become one of the most rapidly developing commercial zones in Jamaica. New businesses, new housing developments, new hospitality enterprises, and new entrepreneurial energy have concentrated in this corridor with remarkable momentum.
This is where Gabby, that I had on 2 Thursdays ago now, that she was talking about. I asked her where are the hot real estate places, and it was exactly this corridor that the Prime Minister is speaking about now.
Government wants to support and deepen that energy, not for it to be strangled by the congestion, but for it to be able to properly carry the traffic load of the area. On major event weekends, traffic snarl from miles from St. Anne into neighboring Trelawney. The North Coast Highway capacity has been exceeded by the very growth it helped generate. And attempting to upgrade a heavily used roadway while traffic is still flowing through it, as we learned from the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, causes disruption and dislocation that simply cannot be absorbed by communities and businesses that depend on the corridor for their livelihoods. The solution is to build the alternative first. Detailed feasibility studies are being completed for the North-South Highway Extension Project. The proposed extension consists of 2 segments branching from a new grade separated interchange near Miami Bay, westward to Discovery Bay in St. Anne, and eastward to Tower Isle in St. Mary. Together, these extensions will create a high-speed toll alternative to the existing North Coast Road, diverting through traffic away from the congested commercial corridor reducing journey times dramatically and unlocking the tourism and investment potential of the wider North Coast and St. Mary to the western parishes. Once the North-South Highway extension is sufficiently advanced, the North Coast Highway Improvement Project will follow, upgrading the existing alignment from Montego Bay to Draxall, including the dualization of key sections where traffic volumes and safety demands require it. The Draxall corridor is not a problem to be managed. It is a success story to be expanded. With this investment, we give it the infrastructure it deserves, and we unlock the next chapter of growth along Jamaica's most visited coastline. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the eastern end of the island, Port Antonio. Port Antonio is unlike anywhere else in Jamaica. It is the birthplace of Caribbean tourism, the town that first showed the world what Jamaica could be, drawing Hollywood legends, royalty, and the world's most discerning travelers to its twin harbors and extraordinary natural setting. It deserves a future worthy of that legacy. As I have reported to this Honourable House on previous occasions, the Port Authority of Jamaica, working with international consultants, town residents, elected officials, and government agencies, developed a master plan for Port Antonio built around a clear and compelling vision. A high-value, low-density tourism destination that preserves the unique history and character of this irreplaceable town while unlocking its enormous, unrealized potential. We are now moving from planning to delivery, starting with the Port Antonio bypass. Madam Speaker, sometimes, I'm doing this now 11 times and going through all the projects and the plans. I can just imagine that the people listening might say, but you said this already, or here goes another plan. But the beautiful thing is that having seen these plans from conception to inception, it is just an amazing feeling. So I recall when we were doing the discussions about how are we going to develop this beautiful asset of Port Antonio. And we recall that when the sewer lines were being put in, I believe by the opposition at the time was the government, the chaos it created in the town. Well, yes, we got the money, but they implemented it. Right. So, but it was chaos in the town, just to put in the sewer lines. And so the thought was, if we can't do any further development in the town, because the development itself is in the town. So what we have to do first is to do the bypass. We have to create an alternative so that traffic can flow whilst we do, because of the significant development. So we have announced the project, and Madam Speaker, and I'm now pleased to say that the project. Man is man, woman is woman. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to say that this project has started. This is an $81 million project, and it is an essential precondition for everything else the master plan will seek to achieve. This 18-kilometer corridor will be delivered in two phases. The first spanning Norwich to Turtle Crawl Harbour, and then 7 kilometers of 4-lane roadway, new bridges and upgraded drainage, built inland and elevated to protect against storm surges and coastal erosion. By diverting through traffic away from the historic town centre, the bypass will give Port Antonio the space it needs to become the premium destination the master plan envisions. Beyond relieving congestion, the bypass will open new corridors for housing, commerce, and economic activity. And as I've said, works has already begun.
I was just say, I think Port Antonio is such an amazing place. You guys have heard me talk about it so much already. Probably my favorite place on the island. Man, I would, if I could or had the capacity, I would definitely invest there. At some point, I will get something there for sure. I'm probably going to be paying a premium price for it, and hopefully I'll be in a position to do so in the future. But if you all are out there and you're considering Port Antonio, you're not sure, I mean, I would have done it yesterday. But with all this stuff coming on board, the Prime Minister's talking about, like, so exciting. Also so exciting to know that they're going to keep it low density, and that is. I've heard so many people say this, like big players in the market saying how important it is to them to keep it low density and for Port Antonio not to lose its charm and to that be the spirit of development for that area and for that region, I think is just absolutely beautiful. So, look into it. Look into it if you can.
The broader master plan will deliver 4 transformational elements: a new cruise terminal in the East Harbour, paired with high-end hotels and villas on the Folly Lands, which will establish Port Antonio as a premium cruise destination unlike any other in the region, intimate, authentic, and famed by some of the most spectacular scenery in the Caribbean. The cricket grounds will be enhanced into a modern multi-purpose sports and entertainment amphitheater, activating this underutilized asset and bringing major events to Portland for the first time. A new pedestrian promenade along the shoreline will connect the east and west harbors, transforming the waterfront into a continuous walkable space for residents and visitors alike. And a new public park will give the people of Portland a world-class recreational amenity on their doorsteps. Madam Speaker, just to be clear, these pictures that you are seeing are not just, promotional rendering. Actual architectural design work has gone into this.
It's beautiful. It's really nice.
All right. Complementing all of this, Madam Speaker, is the Boundbrook Urban Center. So you hear me talk about we're going to build an urban center. We are building urban centers. The Boundbrook Urban Center is approximately 40% complete. Like the Morant Bay Urban Center, Boundbrook will be an integrated commercial hub combining public and private services seamlessly in one location. Madam Speaker, the development of the new port, and I want this is the Morant Bay Urban Center. Well, bypass starts there, so it connects there. So, Madam Speaker, the development of a new port in St. Thomas has been discussed for some time. The original intent was to develop an aggregate port to serve the growing demand for construction materials in regional markets such as Guyana and Suriname. However, Hurricane Melissa fundamentally expanded our thinking. Hurricane Melissa served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of Jamaica's southern coastal line and the existential threat that a direct strike on Kingston would pose to the port of Kingston, and by extension to the nation's ability to recover from any such disaster. As a result, the government will now not only develop an aggregate port for export, but one with capacity for mixed usage, such as the Reynolds Pier in St. Anne. This port will serve as a critical backup to the port of Kingston in the event of a major disaster, while simultaneously driving economic growth and creating much needed employment opportunities for the people of St. Thomas. Subject to more detailed feasibility studies, the Port Authority has identified a site near Yala, St. Thomas, that benefits from adequate coastal depth and vessel berthing, proximity to establish quarry operations and road access via the newly completed highway. Madam Speaker, the Port of Kingston is now one of the fastest growing ports in the entire hemisphere, and we are determined to ensure that our infrastructure keeps pace with that growth. We are undertaking a series of transformational projects that together will create the largest concentration of near-port logistic lands anywhere in the Caribbean. The first of these is the $80 million Westland projects already underway, which will add 15 acres to the Kingston Freeport Terminal, increasing cargo storage capacity by more than 25%. The second involves the realignment of the Marcus Garvey Drive to the northeast of Tinson-Penn and the incorporation of the Tinson-Penn lands into an expanded near-port corridor. No, it's our consequence. A portion of these lands is already being actively utilized for automobile logistics, a clear signal of Kingston's emergence as a regional hub in a dynamic sector and a preview of the far greater potential that lies ahead. Madam Speaker, inadequate drainage infrastructure along this corridor has resulted in disruption of operations from even moderate rainfall. The National Works Agency, in collaboration with local and international consultants, has completed comprehensive studies for a drainage system designed to efficiently convey stormwater to Hunts Bay. We will move decisively under NARA to finalize the designs and implement this solution. The truth is, Mr. Speaker, we can't expand the port without doing this drainage project.
This is all in aid of the logistics position that we're going for, that Jamaica is going for.
Madam Speaker, speaking of drainage, the Kingston metropolitan area is urgently in need of serious work on its most critical drainage infrastructure. That is the Sandy Gully, which is the city's main defense against flooding. This was built some, 70 years ago? Almost 60 years ago? More than 60 years ago. So, and it really has not had a major overhaul. Just to explain to the country how that drain works and why we need the drain. If there is a weather system that is coming off the Kingston Harbour and it is going across Kingston, it is going to meet the hills of St. Andrew. And what that will do as the precipitation moves against the hills is that all of that will fall as rain. It will come down the hill, and if it doesn't get into the Sandy Gully and go into the sea, it will flood the Kingston Plain. And so that's why it was built like that. So it actually takes the water coming off the hills for any heavy precipitation. But the gully as it is, because the inverts and the other infrastructure that support it, they are aged. And so they are falling apart. So on the narrow, yes, thankfully, the gully was not damaged. The Sandy Gully was not damaged by Melissa. But because we have a resilience mandate, we know that this is a key piece of infrastructure that is needed for Jamaica's resilience, and therefore the reconstruction of the Sandy Gully will be a major project. Anchoring the entire logistics ecosystem is the Caymanas Special Economic Zone, Jamaica's flagship logistics project. The Caymanas Special Economic Zone is designed to complete Jamaica's transition from a transshipment hub to a fully fledged logistics center for the region and beyond. The first phase will be developed over 4 years at a cost of $8 billion, covering 200 acres of the 700-acre property, generating hundreds of direct and indirect jobs during construction alone. Taken together, the Westland, Tinson Pen, and the Caymanas Special Economic Zone project, which has started. These three investments will assemble the largest block of near-port logistic lands in the region, placing Jamaica firmly on the pathway for fulfilling our national ambition of becoming the fourth global node in logistics alongside Singapore, Dubai, and Rotterdam.
There we go.
Madam Speaker, these are the exact words that were said by the former Minister of Industry and Commerce, who is now a member of Parliament for Western St. Andrew, which shows that, and he knows, I've always, where credit is due, give credit. You don't have to originate all the ideas, right? The brain is not all in one head. I know I see myself, yes, I like to think myself as a great thinker and conceptualizer, but I prefer to be thought of as the great builder, the one who does it. Madam Speaker, when major disaster strikes, the ability of the state to function, to coordinate, to communicate, to make decisions, to serve the people depends on having facilities that can withstand the impact and continue operating in its aftermath. Hurricane Melissa exposed the vulnerability of the government itself. Jamaica currently houses its ministries and departments and agencies in a patchwork of aging, scattered buildings, many of them structurally inadequate, poorly connected to each other, and wholly unprepared for the demands that a major disaster places on government operations. Madam Speaker, the government will advance the development of the government campus at National Hero Circle as a national priority. The vision brings together Jamaica's House of Parliament, key ministries and agencies into a single purpose-built campus. In the post-Melissa context, the government campus is more than a statement of national pride. It is a strategic investment in the continuity of government. Madam Speaker, this Parliament could never have withstood Hurricane Melissa, or even a slightly lower hurricane. And I think it is now a moot point, Mr. Speaker. I think every member of Parliament here serving in this building would have to agree. The building has served us well, put it that way. But it really cannot carry us much further. Madam Speaker, resilience is not only our road and bridges. Resilience must also include our health facilities. Kingston Public Hospital as historic and venerated as it is, has stood for over 300 years. 300 years. It is vulnerable. And had Hurricane Melissa struck Kingston, the consequences could have been more catastrophic, potentially damaging or destroying a major national referral hospital at the very moment when the residents of the surrounding area would need it the most. That would have added a dangerous new layer of public health crisis to an already severe natural disaster. We have to take note of our vulnerabilities and address them before they manifest. It is imperative that a new Kingston Public Hospital be built to modern international standards with resilience, continuity of care, and preparedness at its core. I am pleased to note that the NARA, that the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, will lead its construction, and Cabinet has already given approval for the acquisition of lands to facilitate the new facility. Madam Speaker, both our major international airports sit adjacent to the sea, and we are vulnerable to storm surges and the long-term effects of sea level rise. When Melissa struck, the operational pressure on both facilities was immense. The question that we must answer honestly and urgently: what happens if one or both of our major international airports is rendered inoperable by a natural disaster? The answer cannot be that Jamaica has no answer. Vernon Field has been discussed as a development opportunity for decades. The vision of an aerotropolis, an airport city that would anchor Jamaica's ambition to become the world's fourth logistics hub has appeared in strategic documents. I've spoken about it numerous times. Cabinet decisions and development plans have been made since the 2000s. The long-term vision still remains our aspiration. Former Minister Mike Henry, I'm certain that if he is listening, will be happy to hear that the Burnham Field, and that's the airstrip you're looking at, which was built during the World War II era, that by and large the concrete is still intact. It has over 2,000 acres of land around it. A premium piece of real estate is used for drag racing. Mm-hmm. When that piece of real estate should be our strategic backup, and where we make strategic investment to eventually make it into a full-blown airport. And this is why we will advance the Burnham Field Light project, a focused phase rehabilitation of the existing airstrip to create an international airdrome capable of accommodating the largest commercial aircraft in operation. And this means that in the event of a hurricane, earthquake, or other disaster that renders Norman Manley or Sanctuary International Airport inoperable, or both, Jamaica will have an inland facility capable of receiving wide-body jets, humanitarian relief aircraft, cargo planes, and military transport. The continuity of our aviation connectivity, which is the lifeline of our ecotourism, of our tourism economy, and our import supply chain, cannot depend entirely on two coastal strips of land exposed to the sea. Beyond its resilience function, the Burnham Field Light project will deliver immediate operational value across a range of activities, for example, providing dedicated facilities for international private jets, purpose-built hangar facilities, aviation training and certification, as well as serving as the Maritime Air and Cyber Command base for the JDF. Madam Speaker, the slide now being displayed shows the National Highway Network, including all planned highway projects. What it illustrates is a vision that is within our grasp. A continuous, modern highway network encircling the entire island, connecting every parish, every port, every airport, and every major economic center into a single, seamless system. The objectives of this network are: one, to reduce travel times and transportation costs for businesses and families, to open new corridors for agriculture, industrial, and tourism development, and to strengthen resilience by ensuring that no community is ever again isolated because of a disaster, and of course, to create new lands for low-income housing. Hurricane Melissa has, among other things, reinforced that infrastructure cannot continue to be planned, designed, and built in silos. That approach has cost us dearly. Roads are rehabilitated and then torn up again because a pipeline issue was not anticipated. Drainage deficiencies shorten the life of otherwise sound roadworks. Slope instability undermines the investments made without adequate assessment of the surrounding terrain. This fragmented reactive model is inefficient, expensive, and wholly inconsistent with the scale and ambition of our national reconstruction vision. We are therefore moving decisively towards integrated infrastructure planning, a framework in which roads, drainage, water, sewage, utility corridors, slope stability, and climate risk are considered together from the design stage and sequenced into a disciplined way through implementation. Integration planning must be matched by stronger infrastructure governance. Part of what involves a long overdue, that is part of the work which involves a long overdue reform of how we classify and manage the national road network. At present, roads are vastly different purposes.
Let's skip ahead a little bit here.
Bad model to be to drive on some of our very important urban roads, arterial roads, and you see the wanton spillage of concrete, and it's as if they do it with impunity. Well, I am putting all of those persons who are spilling concrete on our roads on notice. When the NARA is established, who will be prosecuted? The One Road Authority. You're listed. The One Road Authority. Because that entity will also have the power to prosecute. Madam Speaker, I want to turn very quickly to housing. This year, the National Housing Trust marks its 50th anniversary. The NHT has stood as one of the most enduring and consequential institutions in Jamaica's development.
Hold on, I just want to read real quick. The One Road Authority, so I just looked it up, says the government of Jamaica is creating the One Road Authority, ORA, an executive agency under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development designed to centralize, regulate, and maintain all public roads, aimed at ending fragmented responsibility between agencies. Cabinet has approved the policy framework for the ORA, which will establish uniform national standards, improve accountability, and manage over $45 billion in projects, including the SPARK program, to stop repetitive, poor quality road repairs. Key details of the One Road Authority proposal. Purpose: to eliminate inefficiencies, improve road durability, and ensure single, consistent standard for all roads across Jamaica. Structure: the ORA will operate as an executive agency under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development with a dedicated board and CEO, says the Jamaica Gleaner. Functions: it will consider functions currently spread across the National Works Agency, NWA, municipal corporations, and other entities. Transparency: a new Jamaica National Road Register website will be created, allowing citizens to identify who is responsible for their road when it will be repaired. Implementation: the proposal is currently in the consultation phase as of early 2026 and is expected to be fully rolled out within the next 24 months to address the current inefficient mini systems of road management. Critics have raised concerns that the move could increase political control and reduce local accountability, according to the Jamaica Gleaner. Because that is like the problem, is the bureaucracy with repairing roads, and like everybody is blaming that agency, NWC, for digging up the road and fixing the pipe, and then it has to go to NWA, then it has to go to the municipal corporation for approval, and it goes on and on and on, and nothing gets done. So it seems like this is their way of addressing the inefficiencies in the system. It's almost like it's like set up to fail. So that's what the agency is being proposed to do, the ORA.
A testament to the vision of former Prime Minister Michael Mann. Hear the man. As I said, he did some good things, but we should also note, because the member from St. Andrew Southwest, Southeast, saying, well, if you're going to talk about history, you must talk about it completely. You must give the full story. Right. So the full story of the NHT is that, of course, the idea to create the NHT was that of Michael Mann. But the NHT was, as you would know, I was there. Yeah, of course I was. No, but history is not for the people who live it, it's for the people who read it. So the truth is, being of the opposition, there are people who live the experience, right? But when they actually read it, they say, but it's different. Because when you have to sit down and put everything into context and bring things into consideration that the person experiencing it would not be able to interpret, you get a fuller experience when you're reading the analytic of the event. But Madam Speaker, the point is that the NHD was formed out of the NIS. Yes. In other words, the fund that we created, the National Insurance Fund, which when we created, the PNP objected to it, turned it around, thought it's in, never wanted it to return. So now, what happened is that, of course, the initial establishment of its structure and the funding came from the NIS. So, I mean, it's just a part of the context of the NHD. But to the credit of former Prime Minister Michael Manley, this is an institution that has served Jamaica well. Madam Speaker, when Hurricane Melissa struck, the NHD did not wait. It moved quickly, decisively, and with compassion that the scale of the crisis demanded. Approximately 30,000 mortgages across 7 of the hardest hit parishes received an automatic 6 months mortgage moratorium, providing immediate relief for mortgages whose homes remain uninhabitable. That moratorium has been extended. That moratorium, the NHD has extended it until the beneficiary is able to restore the home.
Great, I didn't know that.
A special disaster relief grant of up to 500,000 was made available for contributors for contributors who demonstrated a need, prioritizing those unable to take on additional borrowing, including pensioners and other vulnerable groups. Over 5,500 applications have been received under the grant facility alone, with nearly 1,800 already processed and close to $1 billion disbursed. The NHD has also procured 2,500 semi-permanent housing solutions at a cost of US $19 million for families who lost their homes entirely. The first 300 units are on island and are being cleared for distribution. So finally, we will have some of these one of the housing solutions, semi-permanent housing solutions. The NHD also introduced a hurricane relief loan of up to $3.5 million at concessional 2% interest rate to support essential repairs, disaster resilience upgrading, including reinforced roofing, and hurricane shelter and supplementation of insurance claims. Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition said he has seen any program insisting that restoration must be done to code and standard. I can assure you, Madam Speaker, that this program under the NHD, that the persons who are restoring their homes must do so according to the relevant local building codes. I am pleased to announce that the program will be extended through to March 2027, ensuring that families across the island can access concessional financing to rebuild, not just the standard that existed before, but to an even higher standard of resilience. So this loan program will be extended to next year, March. Madam Speaker, let me give the House and Jamaica a clear picture of where the NHD housing delivery stands. As of the 31st of January 2026, the NHD is actively managing a housing train line of over 41,000 solutions at various stages of development across the island. This includes approximately 10,700 units currently under construction, and you see them; those are telling you where they are all across Jamaica. Nearly 6,000 at contract award stage, and 11,500 in procurement and negotiations, and more than 11,600 in planning and design. 2 major new developments have commenced at Longville Meadows in Clarendon and Friendship Phase 2.
I'm gonna skip ahead here.
Gross amount that the NHD transfers to the commitment and execution. As I said, offers 0% interest rates to boost the interest. Can you imagine you can get a mortgage but 0 interest rate? 0. Right? So in other words, what we have done, 60% of the mortgages are 0%. No, 60% of the mortgage. Yes. So if you earn a certain level, you get a 0% interest rate. And 60% of mortgages pay actually 0% interest rate. So there's this notion that somehow the funds deprive. So the NHD there is a supply side problem. That is really the issue. How do we expand the supply of houses? And we outline the structural issues that exist, which are not all NHD problems. So further subsidizing demand only ends up increasing prices. We have seen this clearly every time we have increased the NHD loan limit. Prices rise to absorb the additional lending capacity because supply does not keep pace. Jamaica's housing crisis is not a financing crisis, it is a supply crisis. And no amount of money sitting on the NHD's balance sheet will build a single new home without the land, the infrastructure, the approvals, the construction capacity to put it to work. What we need urgently and at scale is a ramping up of housing supply. And when we speak of supply at the scale Jamaica requires, we must think boldly. And that is why this administration developed the Greater Burnham Lodge Development Program as a demonstration of what becomes possible when government planners and the private sector align common vision around serious commitment and execution. I urge members who have not yet seen what is happening in Burnham Lodge to go and take a look at Burnham Lodge and see the housing that is going to be. The next major large-scale master plan development will be the Greater Inzo development, and this NHD is tasked to lead the master planning of this development.
All right, I think I'm going to leave it there. This was kind of the main focus that I wanted to dissect or go through, and my takeaway. And like I said, this was kind of my first time watching it with you all. I didn't watch it before, so we're reacting and digesting all of it together. And it's a great vision, and I think anybody who you just want to see this in your leader, and in leadership in general, to have a plan, to have something that is addressing the issues straightforward. I also see and take this as there were plans before Melissa, and now that Melissa has happened, it's like, and I think this is super smart, they're using Melissa as a way to put forward the plans that were existing, but making them bigger and better, and not for the sake of making them bigger and better, but really because learning from what happened to Melissa, especially with these low-lying areas, and then also shoring up other places that weren't hit, like KPH, Vernon Field Airport. So we know that we are vulnerable. Like the Prime Minister was saying, like, what happens if one of our major airports get taken out, or both of them? What are we going to do then? And we got to prepare for these eventualities, and who knows what's going to happen in 100 years, and when none of us are here, and future generations can look back at leadership, and when we had the country in our control, that, man, thank God this was done, because Sangsters and Kingston Airport was taken out because of, maybe it's not a hurricane, maybe it's an earthquake or something like that. And thank God we have Vernon Field Airport. Thank God that we have the inland highway instead of the coastal highway. And so there is a lot of forethought in this presentation of possibilities and worst case scenarios. Of course, we don't want anything like that to happen in any sort of near future, but Mother Nature is Mother Nature. And hopefully we get a chance to implement a lot of these infrastructural upgrades all over the island. And I think it's just so exciting. Like this, as you know, I've been so excited about Jamaica and the direction that we're heading in since the inception of this channel. And now here, we're getting jet fuel added to what was already being planned. There's jet fuel being put into everything that we've been talking about and everything that we've been bringing to this channel. And I think this is really, really incredible. And man, what a time to be alive. What a time to be living in Jamaica, and for all of us here considering investing in Jamaica. And there are, of course, different pockets. Things are happening a little bit faster over there, a little bit faster over here, a little slower over there, that sort of thing. So, pick and choose where you want to live, or perhaps where you want to invest. But I think this is a great time. And I think a lot of international companies, and I said, I think it was our last week's stream with just things that are happening in other parts of the world. People are looking at this part of the region, this region of the world, I should say. I mean, God forbid things get any worse, but it looks like there's escalation continuing to happen day after day. Where it's going to settle, where it's going to level off, how the world is going to look after this, because there will be an after this. This is not going to go on forever, but who knows how long and how many months and years this will go on, and again, where the dust will settle. And you're looking at a region, not just Jamaica, but you're looking at the Caribbean region, and it's relatively peaceful here in that regard. It's relatively safe from an investment standpoint as well. We're well diversified in this region. There's a lot of investment that was already going into. I can speak for, obviously, for Jamaica, a lot of investment going on here. And as the Prime Minister said, we were already looking to become one of the major logistic hubs of the world. I mean, and we were well positioned for this a long time ago. And now there's just going to be a rapid increase. And I think it's Melissa, but I think, again, with what's happening around the world, it's just so important that we position ourselves from a logistics hub standpoint. I'm talking about specifically from a logistics hub standpoint. We want to get there as soon as humanly possible, because I really think the world is going to need us. I really think the world is going to need Jamaica in that regard. And so we'd be offering this incredible service as a country, as a nation, but then also we'd be taking, in a good way, we'd be taking advantage of the position that we're in. My goodness. I mean, I've been saying this about the logistics hub since when. This is going to change the life of every little boy and girl in Jamaica. And now with everything going on, my goodness, it's needed now more than ever. And I think it's could be incredible. Of course, with everything being said, all these plans, all these major plans, of course, people, have their right to be skeptical about this. Like, how long is this going to take? When is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? We've been seeing and hearing a lot of great plans over the years with so many things that we've talked about on this channel, so many things I've talked about in the grill. And for the most part, none of those shoes have dropped. None of those shovels have gone in the ground for all these things that we're talking about. I do think, and I want to believe, that the difference here is, one is NARA, which was created because of Hurricane Melissa, and the four-year plan. So let's see what happens in the next. Obviously, for something to be complete in 4 years, that means shovels are going to be in the ground a lot sooner than that, and we're going to see, like, visually see with our own eyes, what is going to really take place. But this, I would say, is a time period for positioning. And I wouldn't even say, like, from my perspective, I'm not a wait and see. Like, on this, I'm not personally wait and see. I'm like, I really believe a lot of this is going to happen. A lot of this is going to be pushed forward. And there's a lot of incentive behind this. Remember, there is billions and billions and billions of US dollars that have come into Jamaica that is sitting there that hasn't been spent yet. And the way I look at this is that, I could be wrong, but like, NARA is going to push these projects forward in these few years and make a lot of these projects and infrastructure projects happen in a very short period of time. So there's a lot of incentive for this to get done. And I don't see Jamaica sitting on 7 billion US. I think it's 6 point something, or maybe $7 billion that have come in because of Hurricane Melissa. And so I don't, like, that's a lot of money. That's an incredible amount of money. I mean, we should see some of these major things happen in a very quick amount of time. I see a lot of plans. I also understand, I'm as excited as everybody else is, as the next person is. And I want to see these plans happen yesterday, but I also understand that it takes time, and we do want to get this right. And I would say this, I'm not even saying this for Negril, like, Negril is overdue. I would say more so like a Black River. Man, this is a once in a lifetime situation that the country finds itself in. Once in a lifetime, you get to rebuild a city, and you want to do it right. And you want to do right by all the community members, everybody who was affected by it, the people who have lost their lives because of the hurricane, the people's lives who have been completely disrupted because of the hurricane. And you want to have this impact in a positive way for generations to come, and to be a city that Jamaica is really proud of. And you're thinking through all of these possibilities as much as you possibly can, because once it's go time, in terms of putting these buildings up and putting these roads down and laying the asphalt. It's that's kind of it. If you make and you don't want to look back and he's like, man, and man, these idiots, why did they put the drain here? Why is the road not up there? That sort of thing. And you want to think through these things. And it seems like, at least from the presentation, a lot of forethought has gone into this, and a lot of understanding in terms of what could possibly happen, and even thinking of things that I think of a lot of us are not really thinking of. And perhaps, obviously, we don't have access to a lot of the information they do, but it sounds great. It sounds great, and I'm excited by all of it. I really, really am. Let's get to some comments here, and I think we're gonna close off. I got a dinner to go to. I didn't mean to start this late, but this has been great. I'm really happy that we were able to go through at least that aspect of the budget debate. I'd also encourage you. The link is in the description for the budget debate itself. I'm actually going to put this up here for your convenience if you want to watch the entire thing and you want to stay up to date with everything. I put it in the comment section there. You can take a look. Let's go through some comments here. Samantha, we need to strengthen trade and expand business partnerships with West and East African countries. Nations like Rwanda, Ghana, and Kenya are rapidly advancing in technology and innovation. I think that's a great idea. Jeff says, I would like to see a bullet point list of projects underway and one of the projects to come and outline by area. I think that's great. It's like super segmented, right, in the presentation. I get that. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Maybe AI can help us with that. And I think you see it in a list format, and then also see it in sort of a map format. Unique says, proactive strategies rather than reactive strategies are key. This is very smart and forward thinking. Agreed. James Williams says, when Harmony Cove is being built, everybody is going to have eyes on Falmouth. It's going to be Trial Club 2.0. Yeah, that's like $1 billion development, US dollar, that is, on the North Coast. Is there a map outlining Lucy Bypass? Yes, it's on there. It's in the presentation. We went over it earlier. You can check it out. Radio TV Queen Alicia says, your lives are about to level up big time. By the way, I consult. I believe so. I think lives are about to level up very much so in the next few years. Samantha says, I do like how they are adding parks to each parish. I think, yes, I agree with that. This is important. Redevelopment of the healthcare system is good. However, I do think we need to prevent chronic illness through fitness and food. Totally agree. I talk about this all the time intermittently on this live. I think I wanted to do this last year, but didn't implement it well. But I want to get more into health stuff on this channel. I think it's just so important for considering the health profile of Jamaica. And I think it's important that it'll be top of mind and discussion. Sorry, lost me. But yeah, I think this is a great idea, that this is happening, and that's going back to the idea of having these health conversations and bringing on health experts. This is something that I want to do, probably not this year, but in the near future. Radio TV Queen Lisa says, I'm so proud to see how Jamaica voted with the United Nations General Assembly to recognize slavery as the world's gravest crime against humanity that requires reparations. Hashtag cut the check. Not going to argue with you on that. Oh, man. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you so much, Jeff. Treat yourself to an extra entree at dinner. Peace and love. Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate your contribution, your donation. That's really, really kind of you, and I will. I will. I certainly will. Unique says, I lived and worked in Montego Bay for over 2 decades ago, and it was dirty back then. Shocking that they haven't addressed the garbage all these years. Yeah, unfortunately, we have a similar issue here, similar challenge in the grill, unfortunately. Sitting here watching, ask how much of this will become a reality. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I do believe Jamaica is in an extremely unique position, in a position that it's never found itself before, in having essentially a city, a town destroyed, and much of the country still recovering and will be for years to come. But then also sitting on billions of US dollars to address these issues. And I think even the implementation of a lot of this reconstruction and rebuilding, it's going to further spur investment and cash flow into the system and into Jamaica as these projects, not only when they're complete, but I think when the shovels are in the ground, the excavators are on site, and people start seeing this action happen, and money is being distributed to contractors, to consultants, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's when people are really going to realize that, at least the people who are on the sidelines, and then the people who are in the bleachers, they'll come on board when these projects are complete. So I'm with you. Wait and see. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with everything being implemented. All right. I think we are. What's going on, Justin? I think we're gonna close out there. This was a good one. Like I said, I'm very happy that we went through this together, that we experienced this together. Wish we could have watched the whole thing. I do want to. We're gonna close out with that with the Pinnacle interview, and as the Prime Minister was making his presentation on. Oh, you're not seeing what I'm seeing. Sorry. As the Prime Minister was making his presentation on Fairview and moving the BPOs from this area, and also the bypass highway here, what I find very, so freaking awesome is that, where is the hip strip? So the hip strip. Oh, am I lost here? Is this the hip strip? Oh, sorry. The hips. So the hip strip here, right? So the way the Prime Minister is talking, it seemed like this is going to be primarily dedicated to pedestrians. I've heard two different versions of what this is going to be. I've heard that this being completely pedestrian. Maybe I think that would be awesome. I'm not sure if that's going to be true, but at least it's going to be more pedestrian friendly. And what I'm also kind of hearing is that this is going to be more tourism centric. This is Freeport, and you could kind of already, and if I understand this correctly, that you'll be able to go jog from Freeport here to Harmony Beach Park, which is awesome, which is, I guess, the most beautiful park in Jamaica at this point. But then also, what I also understand, so this is the Pinnacle here. From what I understand with the plans with the Pinnacle, it's going to be a very integrated project development, integrated into the community. And when I did the first video, if you guys remember Dominique from that video, she was telling me that there's going to be I don't know where it's going to be, but there's going to be some sort of path that I guess is going to connect you to the rest of Montego Bay. And with what they're doing here on with Bogue Road, and then connecting this path, I mean, could it be? I'm going to try and find out. And this is purely from a marathoner runner's perspective. This could be amazing. This could take over from the grill being the most walkable, runnable tourist destination in Jamaica and the Caribbean. But if there is a situation where there is going to be a walking path, running path, some sort of pedestrian path to even get you to right here, and then you connect to this, and then you can run up to or walk up to Harmony Beach Park and then go to the hip strip. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. That is amazing. So I'm not sure if that's what she was alluding to when I had interviewed her like 2 years ago. I wasn't sure it wasn't as laid out as it is now, but that would be really, really crazy. So anyway, I think that, and then of course this is Freeport here, and the proximity, if if you're into the boating lifestyle, it's just crazy, amazing, really, really great actually. So this is going to be quite the area. It's going to be quite the area in just a few short years. It's pretty awesome, pretty awesome. Anyway, let me close out there. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for going through this budget debate, at least this portion of the budget debate with me. I thought this was great. If you want to watch the whole thing, again, I got it linked in the description below. And we're going to close out here. We'll do a little interview with Kanya from the Pinnacle. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a great week ahead. We're going to be doing a live stream on Thursday, so that's going to be the dedicated ThropX live stream. We're trying to get a guest on for Thursday. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but we will definitely let you know. Probably get an email. We've been trying to be a little bit more consistent with the emails. We're trying to put them out on try for Thursday morning, but they've been coming out Thursday afternoon. But if you're not signed up, you can sign up at thropx.com to receive our newsletter. And I should also mention, I meant to mention when they were talking about Black River, we already plan to go to St. Elizabeth in ThropX 2025. And with everything that's going on now, as you just heard in the Prime Minister's budget debate, it's going to be one of these areas that he is looking for. Like he said, they're looking for private sector investors that are really going to spur on the local economy. And we're going to be going there for ThropX this year in May. And I'm sure it'll be a little bit further developed, and we'll have more information then. And we're connecting with local stakeholders there that will kind of help us better understand what the opportunities are like, where the help is needed as well. And of course, I'll be using my platform as much as I can to bring attention to that area, because even though these billions of dollars are going there, I don't take it for granted. And I think if we could get more resources, eyeballs, there, business people there, entrepreneurs there, I think it's going to be better and kind of speed along the timeline of getting Black River up and running. Hopefully much faster. So that's ThropX. That'll be ThropX May 24th to 30th. And that, of course, is my annual Jamaica Investment Conference. So you can check it out at thropx.com if you'd like. And we're going to close out there. Again, wishing everybody a great Sunday and have a great week ahead. I'll see you on Thursday's live stream at 4 p.m. Jamaica time. Peace, everybody.
I've been with the Pinnacle since inception, since we first opened our doors to the public in 2023. I'm a sales executive for the Pinnacle. So it was not an easy concept to grasp for here. I'm like, in Jamaica, in Montego Bay, how is that going to work? Because it's villas and it's hotel, it's residences and hotel, and then commercial area. That's huge, right? I've seen it elsewhere, in bigger markets, in maybe better demographic locations. So in Jamaica, how will that work? How can we sell this? How are we going to sell this? A lot of doubts when I just heard about it. But then I'm here, I'm doing it every day. I'm loving it. It's a great product. It's an easy sell. It's something I can do in my sleep. I can talk the Pinnacle in my sleep. I believe in the vision of our directors, and we're all working together as a team to make sure that in 2029, when we open our doors to everybody, all that we've dreamed of and they're working towards will be accomplished. Our directors they're born in China, they're Chinese, but they're Jamaicans. They've been here for an average of 20 years each. This is where they have their businesses, their families. This is where their children go to school. So this is where they want to give back as well. They want to make sure they're helping to build Montego Bay, and Jamaica in general, by offering this kind of space where, as a business owner, you can come and own a part of this. You can have your offering here as well. And we're going to have a great mix. We're not restricting it. We're not limiting. We just want to make sure that anybody that's in this space also believes in our dream, has that vision, wants to have that elevated experience, and wants to offer that elevated service to a potential visitor or guest or client that comes in. We're sitting in our commercial area now where if you're here on this property or if you don't live here, you're not visiting, but then you want to come to the supermarket or the pharmacy or the cafe or the clothing store, you can come here. It's commercial, it will be open to the public. The public will have access. Then we have the 4 towers. We have the Swallowtail, which is the residential tower. So if you buy into the Swallowtail, then the expectation is that you're going to live here. And then who wouldn't want to live here, right? So you can actually live at a branded residence, 5-star hotel property, right? Second tower is our Canary Tower. And these units we're selling individually. It's the same 1:4 units as the Swallowtail Tower. Same layout, same design, same look and feel. But in this tower, the expectation is, or what we're saying to you is, if you buy here, you don't have to live here. We'll never allow Airbnb or short-term rentals, but you own your unit, it's titled in your name, and then you have the option to put it back into the residential return program with the hotel. That means if you don't live in Jamaica, and most of our buyers they're Jamaicans or members of the diaspora. We have some international people, but it's a good mix. So it means that if you're not ready to live here, if you don't live here right now, but you still want to have some kind of piece of this pie, you can buy into the Canary. When you're not in your unit, it's with the hotel. The hotel takes care of everything associated with that. It's the guests coming in and out, the marketing, the maintenance, and the average day-to-day of the unit. The 3rd tower, the Hummingbird, we have not yet started to sell, but will basically be the same manner as the Canary. That will be the buying option for persons that want to buy. Our 4th tower, which is going to be the hotel, it's the Mondrian. We're not selling those units at all. The hotel has already taken that. And the hotel group is their core hospitality group. The first 2 towers are 28 stories, 141 units. The 3rd tower, we've modified a little bit based on our conversations with our core. It's now going to be 25 stories with a little bit under 200 units. And then we're going to have the 3rd tower, which will be 23 stories. Because what we have in mind is we want everybody to also get a view, right? And I'm sure we'll touch on the views in a little bit. So and we're speaking with the hotel, we have that in mind, and we're making sure that it works for us as well as for our buyers with all the amenities that you can think of and associate with a 5-star property. So it's the parking garages. So the first parking garage will have 380 car spaces for parking with storage lockers. The second one is 275. And on top of those parking garages, now you have the pool decks and the green area, rec area, where you can come as a resident or as a visitor and just have fun, relax, read a book, go by the bar, take your children. Just a general relaxation area. We're going to have pickleball, tennis court, basketball courts. We'll have 5-star restaurants, cigar bar, wine bar, spa, gym, 24 hours, it never closes. Living starts on the 3rd floor, and then the layout changes as well. From 3 to 18, there are 7 units per floor. You get a combination of 5 2-beds, 1 1-bed, and a 3-bed. Then once you get above that, 19 to 24, you have 2 2-beds, 2 3-beds. They're bigger. And then above that, 25 and 26, 2 sets of 4-bedroom sub-penthouses. Then it goes 27, 28, 5,000 square feet each of a 5-bedroom penthouse. If you buy a penthouse, you automatically get a slip with your purchase. If you buy a sub-pent, you get a slip with your purchase. The others will be open for you to pay to use while you're here. We'll also have a water taxi. We're going to have a ferry service, So we can pick people up at Freeport and take them here. We can take people from here to strategic locations in and around Montego Bay. So it cuts out all the highway traffic and the downtown traffic if you don't choose to travel by road. You can actually go by sea much faster. I have different clients with different reactions. I have clients that I speak with all the time because they're very hands-on and they want to make sure and they want updates very often, right? And then I have clients that are just ready. I have a lot of clients that especially are in the US. They're Jamaicans, but in the US, and they've worked hard for years. They're ready to come back home and they're like, can you just finish already? This is beautiful. This will actually match the lifestyle that I have now. This, I'll have my walking trail, I'll have my gym. There's a supermarket right there. I want to come home. I am ready for this elevated style of living where I'm from. So they're experiencing it in another country. And they're excited that they can come home, they can retire here just the same and have that same level of experience. A lot of people weren't expecting it. No two units have the same price. That's food for thought, right? So we have pricing based on availability right now, because that's where the starting price is, based on what's available. And then also based on the size of the unit, the layout, and then the floor that you're on and the view that you get. So for example, we circulate a lot. We do a lot of media and social media posts with our model units. That's a $12.99 lagoon facing unit, right? Right to the right of that is a 3-bed unit that's 1732 square feet. And then all around you have 4 more 2-beds, 1056, 1323, 1473, different sizes. You get a sea view, you get a sea and mountain view. There are different views and different facts to consider when you're in a unit. So I'm not trying to be roundabout, but that does impact the price, right? So it depends on what you want, but comfortably, we're averaging now, you're looking at close to $500,000 for a 1-bed, over $600,000 for a 2-bed, and then roughly $1 million for a 3-bed. And then before you respond and say, or before our viewers respond and say, that sounds kind of high, we did our market research. It's pretty close to a lot of other offerings locally. And then you still can compare offerings to other offerings. Because you're not just buying a building, you're not just buying a structure. You're buying into our branded residence, into elevated lifestyle, into luxury living. Why not? We're saying if this is the experience that you want, if what we're offering matches your lifestyle now or the one that you're working to have, come in and have a conversation with us. Let's discuss your options. We will be handover ready with the Swallowtail Tower in April of 2027, but construction will be done before that. For Canary, handover ready, and construction due date is 2028. We're ahead of that. The entire development is 2029. So all amenities, the homes along the front, along the sea line, the towers, done for 2029.
Hey everyone, Throp here. I hope you enjoyed that infomercial on the Pinnacle. I know really exciting stuff ahead. If you'd like some more information, please scan the QR code on your screen right now or click the link in the description below, and we'll have a representative from the Pinnacle reach out to you right away. Now back to the stream.